A 13 News investigation exposed an epidemic of dangerous and deadly fires at Indiana's oldest prison. And that investigation is triggering changes. Now, for the first time, the Indiana Department of Correction is giving an inside look at some of those changes. To be clear, the Department of Correction is still not allowing our cameras inside cell houses at Indiana State Prison. But we have obtained exclusive video and photos to show what's happening. And I got to sit down with the man who is now responsible for making sure no other inmates are burned alive. When 13 Investigates first uncovered a pattern of dangerous fires at the Indiana State Prison, we met with the families of inmates who burned to death inside their cells.
It's so crushing.
How did this happen? Again.
We met with the local fire marshal.
Did you get a call about that fire?
No, we did not.
And we met with inmates who personally witnessed the devastating fires that killed Michael Smith and Josh Devine.
You still hear the screaming.
Sound like a toddler screaming for his mother.
I mean, a person is getting roasted to death.
But for more than a year, we've also been trying to meet face-to-face with someone else. 13 Investigates has been asking to interview leaders at the Indiana Department of Correction to find out what they've been doing about the deadly fires. Because of pending lawsuits, all of our interview requests have been denied. That is, until now.
My name is Lloyd Arnold, and I'm the Commissioner of the Indiana Department of Correction.
The commissioner is in charge of all Indiana prisons, including the 165-year-old facility in Michigan City, where deadly fires became the focus of our 13 Investigates documentary, Burned Alive.
What's your reaction to seeing that documentary?
It is devastating. I mean, I would tell you that. But we learned a lot from it, and we're getting better based off that documentary that you did.
Right after the commissioner watched our investigation, the serious problem highlighted by 13 News turned into a crisis.
Michigan City Fire for a burn victim, ISP 1 Park Row, Party 1 for a burn victim.
Just 1 week after 13 News released our investigation, another inmate nearly burned to death at the same prison. And then, 3 weeks after that,
we do have a patient here that has third-degree burns, probably over 80% of his body.
It happened again. Adam Schaefer and Cameron Cipher were both rushed to a hospital burn unit in critical condition. Both needed multiple amputations. Both have undergone constant surgeries, and both now face years of recovery from third and fourth degree burns suffered inside their prison cells.
You got to attend to it and fix it.
The governor called on the commissioner to act.
Lloyd Arnold, who runs the Department of Corrections, it'll be his job to get to the bottom of it.
After Adam Schaefer's fire, you went personally to the prison.
Absolutely.
What did you see? Did anything surprise you?
I think that the ease or how easy it is to actually start a fire with an electrical outlet. That was very surprising.
You saw an inmate spark an outlet and light a fire from the outlet.
Yes.
He recorded it on his cell phone.
He's sticking a Pepsi can or a Sprite can into the outlet on one side and then arcing it on the other side and lighting his toilet.
What the commissioner showed us is not new. Inmates told us all about it last year and said prison officials have known about it for decades, that inmates spark their outlets so they can light cigarettes or drugs that have been smuggled into the prison, or simply to set something on fire as a form of protest. And inmates say this type of tampering has left many outlets throughout the prison unsafe.
Is it a true statement to say that these inmates have access to the materials and the tools that they need to light fires inside their cells?
That is a 100% accurate statement. That's why we did some of the countermeasures we had to try to eliminate fires, especially in our restricted housing unit.
Those countermeasures include turning off all electricity and lights in cells in D Cell House, where most fires at the prison take place. It's a drastic change, but following more devastating fires, the commissioner says it's necessary.
The loss of human life is too catastrophic for my watch to have that happen again.
And he says it's already making a difference.
Have the number of fires dropped over the last several weeks?
Yes. Yes, and we have had some. Can somebody still start a fire with a razor blade or a battery or something else that they've learned over time how to start fires? Yes. We believe this is a good countermeasure to take place.
The commissioner is also making other changes in response to our investigation and the recent fires. The prison purchased more fire extinguishers and fire safety equipment to install throughout cell houses. These metal caps are sealing off air vents in cells to reduce airflow and prevent little fires from growing into big ones. And because guards in the officer station down there in the corner have a very limited view of the cell house, the prison will now assign a corrections officer or inmate to a special round-the-clock fire watch, constantly monitoring for fire out on the range, where they have a much better view of what's happening. That's important because during previous fires, guards were not out patrolling the cell house, and they testified they did not see fire or smoke or hear screams for help, even after the fires had grown out of control, resulting in costly delays in response time.
So now those ranges are visible at all times. Used to be, and you showed in Burning Alive, that the officer station was at the end of the cell house. Now we actually have posts that are actually in the open area so they can actually see throughout the cell. So you actually have full visibility of the entire range.
And perhaps the most significant change coming to the prison is what you're about to see here. The Department of Correction invited 13 investigates to observe live fire testing on mattresses. That is the mattress currently assigned to all inmates at Indiana State Prison. And it's being tested inside a metal shipping container that's been set up to recreate an actual prison cell, including the same bed frame, cell door, sheets, and clothing used in Michigan City. Firefighters set the bedding on fire. And then prison officials carefully document what happens next. Within 4 minutes, heavy smoke is pouring out of the cell. And just a minute later, smoke from the burning mattress is so thick, we need to rely on video from a thermal camera to see just how big the fire has grown. Inside the cell, temperatures are skyrocketing.
345 degrees.
The entire bed and everything on it are engulfed in flames. Firefighters put out the blaze after 13 minutes to discover the mattress on this bed is gone, fully destroyed by the fire. The flammability of this prison mattress could help explain why recent fires, the kind that killed 2 inmates and severely burned others, so quickly spread out of control. Not all mattresses burn like that. Something the department can now see clearly after testing a mattress sample made of fire-resistant foam. That sample did not ignite even when it was hit directly with a blowtorch. And watch what happens when DOC tried to set the whole mattress on fire, under identical conditions to its first test. From the outside, we noticed a lot less smoke. At the height of this fire, the cell temperature rose to only 118 degrees, not 350. And after firefighters put out the flames, we noticed this fire-resistant mattress prevented the fire from even spreading to the bottom of the bed.
This one is almost completely intact after 13 minutes of flames. Compare that back to the first mattress, the one that is assigned to most inmates right now at Indiana State Prison. That's a big difference.
The department is now ordering more than 3,000 of these mattresses for Indiana State Prison, with thousands more to follow for every other prison in the state. They cost a lot more than the current mattress, but the commissioner says, based on these test results, it's worth it.
We found a mattress that actually will not burn, so that's going to be very big for us. We'll start out in D cell house, then the entire state prison, and then our entire population.
He says all cells will also get new fire-resistant paint, and he's also making sure staff get better training in how to use fire extinguishers and respond to emergencies to help avoid the same type of mistakes and delays that happened in earlier fires.
Every week, there's somebody from my executive team that has been at the state prison to ensure that all the training that we have in place, that they're doing it, to make sure that we just don't lose sight and relax on what's going on. And eventually, it'll just become second nature to us, where we won't make those mistakes.
With so many fire safety changes now taking place at Indiana State Prison, we couldn't help but wonder.
Any of the changes that you're talking about could have taken place in 2017 after Josh Devine died. They could have taken place in 2023 after Michael Smith died. They could have been taken in the summer of 2025 after you started, when 2 other inmates last summer were burned and needed to be hospitalized. Why are these changes just taking place now?
I don't want to speak for the past administration, but I will give you this. And 2017, when the first one happened, that was the first one, I think, in decades that had been catastrophic at that facility. And then in 2023, with Mr. Smith, it opened up our eyes as an agency and said, hey, we've got to make sure we put countermeasures in place. At that time, I believe we thought everything was put in place that we needed. And then you came out with Burning Alive, and then all of a sudden, it was almost like an epidemic that, you know, the fire started coming after it was visualized. And that's when we said, hey, we've got to fix this.
Do you think more should have been done sooner?
I mean, it's obvious something else should have been done, you know, but again, you can't play Monday morning quarterback. But we're in the seat right now, and we're moving forward to make it better.
And to be clear, the commissioner does plan to move forward with this 165-year-old state prison, despite growing calls from some state lawmakers to close it. That was supposed to happen next year, when the Department of Correction opens a brand new 4,000-bed, $1.2 billion state prison that's now being built just a short distance away. But last year, the commissioner announced Indiana State Prison is not going anywhere.
Why is that facility not closing? And are you rethinking that?
We're not closing it in 26 or 27. There's no near-term plans to close that facility. But we can't afford to close down that facility. Our population is growing at a rapid pace. We need that bed space at that facility. It is a very viable facility. There are some things we could do to improve. Obviously, we know that we're doing improvements now, and we need to continue to keep that facility open.
Are you committed to making the fire safety improvements needed to not only keep that prison open, but to keep it safe?
Absolutely. We are 100% committed to keeping that prison safe and working while it remains open.
In just the past 3 months since our investigation, the Department of Correction says it has now spent nearly $1 million at Indiana State Prison to improve fire safety for inmates and staff. We break down those numbers and we outline all the changes taking place at WTHR.com. And if you'd like to see the full investigation, you can see the Burned Alive documentary streaming on demand on our WTHR app and on our YouTube channel.